all I'd say is like I've got the utmost confidence in Caleb Williams. Like everything I'm hearing, I like his moxie. Like I think his confidence is like through the roof, like maybe too much. Like sometimes he gives me like these cocky type vibes or like immature type vibes, but in the same way, like I kind of want that now. Like we haven't had a guy walk into a room like with his nails painted and kind of like just goofy and like kind of like laughing at how he's gonna just have so much success in this league. Maybe I just it's a breath of fresh air for us because we always get those stern robot, no expression type QBs in Chicago, and like they've never done anything for us. I mean, even Fields, man, great guy. Seems like an amazing, clubhouse guy, but that guy didn't say a whole lot. Like he didn't really show you a lot of moxie or poise or kind of bringing the guys together. Like I think the rain game was probably that one time I saw him really like show some of his passion, but like we need a guy who's just going to come in with a little swagger, I think, and I think he's got all the talent to back it up too. So we'll see.
I mean, Trubisky was a great guy. Joey Harrington, the Detroit Lions quarterback back then, I think he played piano, national anthem, choir boy type, great guy. I don't give a fuck. I want an asshole. Like Aaron Rodgers, like a lot of people think he's an asshole. Guy's like one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So, if this was a president of the United States or something like that, right? Yeah, maybe less assholish, but this is a quarterback in the NFL. I don't care. Like, if he can throw the ball, read a defense, has the psychology, the moxie, right? Because I think that's like the biggest thing. I think that's what Tom Brady said, right? Is that the number one trait, the most valuable trait for a quarterback is confidence, right? Because you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get, you might be questioning your abilities. Do I belong here and all that? And in the middle of the game, you can't think that because you got 300-pound linemen going after you. You got to worry about blitzes and stuff. You can't worry about that. You just got to be like, hey, I got this. I got this. So if Caleb Williams can bring that, great. I think that's great for us. And he definitely is set up for success. So hopefully, everything's kind of just lining up and he just has the mentality to kind of just take things and do well. So I like him. I definitely, there was a lot of this whole off season kind of just trying to tear him down, whether it be the nails, whether he's wearing a dress or whatever, and all that. But like in the end of the day, is he going to bring us wins? Is he going to help us score touchdowns? I think I remember like Rome Odunze, right? He was like, somebody asked him how many receiving yards is the all-time leading receiver for the Bears. And I was like, I don't know, it was like 10,000 or something like that. It was like it's 5,000, like 500 or something, 5,000. Like that's stupid. Like it's that's such a very attainable amount. And it was like Johnny Morris, like in the 50s, 60s or something like that. So it's like, yeah, we are so due for this, and we need to get. I think as Bears fans, as the organization too, we just need to be open to other possibilities, other ways of doing things, because what's been expected from a quarterback in Chicago has not worked. So I think we just need to get our heads out of our asses that a quarterback needs to be this stoic person, which Justin Fields was. But every stat, like a lot of people want to blame the line and such for Justin Fields. It wasn't, like, flat out, it wasn't. He held on the ball too long. So I don't know what to tell you, but the tape don't lie. The stats don't lie too. If you look at both of those things, it was Justin's fault. And look, he wasn't set up for success. I think that's been pretty clear from anybody that is both on the Justin Fields, we should have kept Justin Fields, or we just need to roll with Caleb Williams' side, right? In the end of the day, it's business, and I think we made the right decision in terms of at least the talent that's available at number one, Caleb Williams, and then obviously, the cap casualties and do we do the 5th-year option and all that fun stuff for Justin Fields. I think we made the decision, and I'm just going to roll with kind of what happens now. Hopefully everybody's healthy and such. So.
Yeah. I think with the thing that I've liked seeing some, reports of Caleb Williams throwing balls to Odunze before the draft, like practicing with him, Keenan Allen obviously showing up at, Caleb Williams, pro day, and then hearing that Williams has already gotten in the field with DJ Moore, like I love that shit, man. Like he's just ready to play football. He cares about it. He's put his name out there. Like I want to be, better than Aaron Rodgers. I like, he's just putting himself in those categories. He's so confident about it. Like if it fails, if he comes up short, hey, at least he's got high goals and he wants to like set the tone here. Like you look around the league for quarterbacks with like actual moxie, like the guy who just won back-to-back championships, like he's got that. Like he's got that kind of attitude where like I'm so confident in my abilities, like we're going to be back here next year for the Super Bowl. Like that's the kind of stuff Caleb I think has, and it's like Joe Burrow maybe is another guy who steps out and has like that kind of swagger too, which I appreciate. It's just like there are a lot of quarterbacks that just haven't got over the hump, that are very timid, very quiet in the moment. Like we'll see if this works, just personality wise, but like I like it over the fact like I'll take this over him being maybe more quiet and stoic like we're talking about. And then my final point is just there's one thing still missing for me, and like I want to see how this year plays out, but like Coach Eberflus, like so goofy, man. Like the whole draft day call, like it's become this funny meme reel, like going around on IG. Like I've watched it a couple of times. Like I'm cracking up at like how awkward it all is, from like Poles talking to Williams talking to Flus, but like Flus with like the "I love you, man," and like dude, like you're just so great, like. And then I kind of like laughed because Caleb was just like, "Yeah, man, I'll see you soon." Like he was just like, "Who is this guy on the other line right now?" Like what a cheesy dude. But he just feels like the one guy who just doesn't fit this team. He doesn't fit his role in this whole thing. Like Waldron is so important this year. Like Poles was so important to getting this roster here. Caleb Williams is so important to getting that offense to another level. And it's like, what is Flus good for? Like, I mean, he's important as hell to like, I think coordinating that defense, and like it was
Yeah.
a good unit last year, but like he feels like a defensive coordinator trying to play the head coach role. And it's like it's the one thing that just doesn't work for me, man. I don't know. It just feels suspect.
Yeah, like I don't know. Would you have felt, or would you maybe have preferred Shane Waldron be the head coach? New regime, brand new slate. Hey, thanks Eberflus, it was great, but maybe you're a stopover. And then, I forget I know we brought in the Bills defensive line coach, and the Bills defensive line did really well, I think last season, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
do we bring him over? Do we bring in a more experienced, defensive coach? I don't know, Vic Fangio, or I'm just throwing out names, right? A more experienced guy there. But yeah, Shane Waldron, he's the head coach. He's the head honcho, because I know a lot of people were contemplating on having him as a head coach right before. I think our friend Pete Martuniak was talking about that. I know Thomas Brown, I think too. He's on our staff. Maybe he's the offensive coordinator. Would you roll with that, or versus kind of what we have in our setup right now?
Yeah, the one thing that I've heard is good for Eberflus is like he's a culture builder, and like I can see that the Chicago Bears like each other and they like playing together, and like I think that locker room is definitely together. It was together even during the Fields' entire era. Like I think they all love that guy for what it's worth. But yeah, he just feels like, does he, like when the moments get bigger and bigger and bigger for Chicago, because I think they will this year, like is he going to rise to the occasion, be able to make the right calls at the right time? Like I haven't seen it yet. We haven't been in a position to really see it, so like it's hard to know. Like, is he a good bridge guy for this year? Like maybe that's what we find out. Maybe we find out that Shane Waldron is next level genius. Maybe he's McVay, just unknown, like an unknown McVay type, or Shanahan type, but maybe Waldron himself is best in his OC role. Like maybe that's something he just thrives in, and he's not like capable of uniting a locker room in that sense. But so I don't know, man. It's a hard question to answer because I'm thinking about other candidates that we were considering going into this offseason. Like Harbaugh was a guy that I was like stumping for a lot, and like how would Harbaugh have hired? Would he have gone out and gotten a pass-heavy OC? Would he have tried to insert Greg Roman, who wants to run the ball more? Like, would that have been a tainted philosophy going into this year with Caleb Williams? Like, how would Harbaugh's like hard-nosed, disciplined personality mixed with Caleb Williams, who's just kind of more of a like a freer spirit. Like, would that have been a bad mix? So there's a lot of what ifs, and maybe because there are so many right now, like I'm okay with just like let's see how this goes. But it's the one thing I'm going to keep my eye on for like what's going to, I guess, keep us from being like a Super Bowl contender versus just being like in the hunt for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, not to put too much pressure than there already is for Caleb Williams, is like, are you that kind of like Tom Brady type of quarterback, right? Where you have that defensive minded coach and you can honestly just put in whomever at offensive coordinator and then just kind of build on from that, whatever the offense might be. Because we see, franchise after franchise, basically, you have some sort of franchise quarterback, but then, and maybe you do have like a defensive minded coach, like, I'm looking at like maybe the Bills, Sean McDermott over there. It's like, yeah, when they lost, now Brian Dable, when they lost Brian Dable, right, their offense kind of took a step back, and they've been kind of struggling ever since then. So, that's been the whole thing, and that's been happening. It seems like, at least for the top tier teams, is you see an offensive mind coach, get an offensive coordinator get a head coaching gig, and then the team suffers, right? But then we don't see as much movement in the defensive coordinators, right? I'm looking at Steve Spagnuolo specifically right there in KC, where he's an experience. He does have previous head coaching experience. Dan Quinn as well, right? Like those types of head or those types of defensive coordinators who maybe have had previous head coaching positions. Dan Quinn now, I think he has like a second go around, but that doesn't happen too often, it seems like. And for me, it's like there isn't as much. I feel like people are a little bit more lenient to give maybe offensive coordinators that were previous head coaches like one more opportunity or something, right? I don't know. We'll see about that. I think that's where, maybe that Cliff Kingsbury, like that would have been something maybe more intriguing that maybe we should put more effort on there to have gotten him, because he would have been like, that didn't work out like at all. It felt like from the head coaching standpoint, but he knows Caleb Williams. Maybe he could have been that staple over there. So that being said, we're really thinking, I think, 5 years down the road, maybe 3 years down the road. So, but hey, if Caleb Williams balls out, does really well, and then Shane Waldron gets a promotion to a head coaching position somewhere, I think we would take that, overall. Like we would take that, and then maybe we do figure it out. Maybe Eberflus isn't the guy, and maybe he changes head coaches, but throws 4,000 yards, every year, 20, 25, 30 touchdowns. I'll take that. And sorry, thanks for the memory, Shane Waldron, but we'll try to fill your shoes somewhere with someone else. So, but yeah, I'd probably just roll with that.
Yeah. If the defense takes a step back this year, like it's apparent that the offense is the thing driving, the team, the defense takes a step back, or there's some knucklehead game management decisions that get, put in spotlights. Maybe it's in the playoffs, maybe it's in a crucial game down the stretch or 2 or 3. Like that's the kind of thing I could see getting Flus replaced by a guy like Waldron, who I think took that job, like, Pete had said, like, because he saw a pathway to being a head coach there too. So it's a very real situation, but I'm glad you brought up Steve Spagnuolo, because he's been kind of cast aside as somebody who's not, in the mix for those jobs. And like his defensive scheming in the Super Bowl and overtime with Brock Purdy and all that pressure he placed, like every single string he pulled, I was like, genius. Like this guy just gets it. And I feel like it was Tony Romo, but Romo was calling him out play by play. Like, look at what Steve's doing. Like masterful work on a young quarterback. Like, so that kind of stuff would be like just so perfect for our team. Like that kind of experience there, especially the ties that we have as an organization to KC, like that'd be amazing. But if Waldron does his job and this offense is humming like it probably should be, I mean, I feel like that's the logical next step. I feel like a head coach if Flus just doesn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been kind of a shift that at least I've been noticing, right? It's like yeah, the top tiers, it's the Shanahans, right, and Andy Reid's, like the offensive minds, where they kind of just roll with whomever there is on the offense, and then they just try to get as much defensive knowledge there on that side of the ball. So, and I think that's perfect. It seems like that's a perfect formula because owners really want that innovative offense. They want to find their own Andy Reid. They want to sell tickets to. So, but it's interesting. Is like the fun part is with Harbaugh, right? In this whole scenario with the Chargers, it's like, yeah, they play. Harbaugh. It's so ironic. He's a quarterback, former quarterback, and all that, but he plays like very boring football, but he wins. So, um, like if you were to like say like this is what I want. My head coach wants to run the ball and have a hard nosed defense. It's like you would think that's like a defensive coach of some sort, right? But no, it's a it's a former quarterback. Um, but yeah, I don't know how that kind of coincides in the end. If the defensive coach, if Eberflus, and I don't know, from my understanding is they hired Getsy first, which I find a little bit weird. But if Eberflus is a good like recruiter, and maybe he did play some influence of getting Shane Waldron right for an offensive coach, offensive staff, right? Then great. Then maybe that lessens the worries for Bears fans a little bit. But if this whole thing with Shane Waldron was, because it was kind of lucky, honestly, it felt like, with Pete Carroll retiring, and then the whole staff kind of just in shambles, right, and just kind of being blown up. It's like, oh great, we can make that call to Shane Waldron, and it sounds like he's interested because he knows that we have a ton of draft capital. You know, probably going to get like a Caleb Williams. He probably saw that or heard about that, and or put his 2 cents in there and agreed with Ryan Poles and made sure that they're on the same page. So it's like, yeah, maybe that was more of the influence on that. But yeah, like if Eberflus is that person, a leader of men and a good recruiter of offensive coordinators, then yeah, maybe we do have a lesser fear of the continuity of Caleb Williams, I think, going forth. But again, good problem to have if Shane Waldron does get promoted because of the successes of the Bears offense, right?
Right. Man, yeah. I mean, this year is so important. I mean, it's like a building block year for the Bears. I definitely see playoffs in sight this season versus any other season. And I'm not like a Homer Bears fan where I'm going to always be overly optimistic, but like the writing's on the wall now. Like this is playoff or bust. I think we still come up, on a very tough division, but in the same sense, like I think we have enough talent in the NFC to at least push for one of those, wild card berths or whatever else it could be. But no, I'm just so excited for this upcoming year. It's like the first time being a Bears fan that I've truly felt excitement, because I always felt, even in those years where we had those elite defenses, we had nothing to show on offense. And it was always like, well, great, we've got the monsters of the Midway and a great running game, but like we're not true Super Bowl contenders in my eyes. Like even the year where we went to the Super Bowl with Grossman, it was like, come on, we're going up against Peyton Manning. Like this is like we've got to have everything break right for us to win this game. And this just feels like a different era. It just feels like a different type of football team we're putting together. And if everything lines up, like we should be one of the top contenders year in, year out for the at least next 5 years. So we'll just see how it all goes.
Yeah, and we could have drafted Aaron Rodgers. Instead, we got Cedric Benson, who had a okay career, right? I think RIP too, but like, yeah, we could have drafted Aaron Rodgers then. Obviously, quarterback contract structures were different, hence why Aaron Rodgers dropped, to the bottom of the first round there, right? But yeah, I just think about the what ifs with regards to that, and yeah, I'm excited for an offense that can actually score points, and then we have a defense with hey, having a defensive coach, that definitely is a plus there. So, I am looking at the odds too for the Bears. I want your thoughts on this too, because we're gambling addicts apparently. Chicago Bears over under on wins 8.5. Over is -140, under +115. I mean, from the fan perspective, I assume you take the over, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I take the over. But it's a conservative over for me too because of the division. I think this division is going to be one of the best NFC Norths that we've seen. I mean, I think the Packers got better in the draft. I think that the Lions got better in the draft. I think that the Vikings are getting better as an organization, whether or not it plays out next year. I feel like they made some good moves for themselves and like they just stay in there and they'll pick a win here or there. Like it's we're going to be battling, I think, this year as a team in getting into the playoffs. I think that's an honest goal. I think that's a goal that works for me. Like if we get to the first round and we put up a competitive first round game, if we get a victory in the first round, like I'll be so excited. But if we get into the playoffs, like I'll respect that because it is Caleb's first opportunity in the NFL. Like if he can just be if he is CJ Stroud from last year, like I'll be over the moon, man. Just if you just return what CJ Stroud does, like, and that's a very tall ask. That is a huge ask, honestly, because I think Stroud's getting better too. But like, that's what I see him as. That's what I see this team as. And they're a much more talented offense. And hey, their defense was pretty damn good down the stretch last year too. So, um, I think 10 wins is definitely where I'm kind of looking right now. But if they get to 9, like, I see that too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the key thing, gotta beat the fucking Packers, man. We gotta beat the Packers. I think, I mean, honestly, that's gonna be a big thing because if we split, I mean, we've been getting swept, I feel like, the past couple of years, right? So it's like we just gotta beat the Packers there. Because yeah, I think yeah, I believe Justin Fields was like 0-6 or something. Like, yeah, I don't think he beat them. So it's like that's gotta be something there because that's 2 games out of the year. And yeah, if we took care of business, swept the Packers this previous season, then honestly, this conversation could have been totally different, right? For Justin Fields, and maybe he does stay. I don't know exactly, right? But yeah, that's just how the NFL kind of works there. If you don't win, then yeah, there's conversations about blowing things up. So, yeah, I definitely think this is a winnable division. We'll see kind of what the Vikings do. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, one of the better offensive minds out there, great coach overall. So we'll see. Maybe Sam Darnold takes the reins. First half, and that's a couple losses more so of, and JJ McCarthy. I don't know what he's got rookie year. I've been kind of like, this guy's the first round quarterback, I guess. He has some decent throws here and there, but I never saw him as like the guy like in an NFL setting. But we'll see from that perspective. Yeah, Lions better. Their defense is better. I don't know if they can take a step back. I just hope that maybe the Packers take a step back or something because yeah, God, I just don't like them. So
Yeah. And I think my last question is, are there any Bears fans out there now that are still wanting Justin Fields as our quarterback, or are there still Bears fans out there now that want the Godfather offer instead of what we just did in the draft? Like, I feel like if you ask the majority of Bears fans now in a poll how they feel, I would bet 80% of those Bears fans are so damn excited about what's coming up that they can't even look back at what's happening or looking over to Pittsburgh and seeing what Justin Fields may end up being like. I think that was all crap. That was all old Bears mindset, attitude, opinions. I'm just truly hoping if this Bears team comes out of the gate and they're a little shaky, like let's say 1-3 or something, or Caleb's throwing some picks and he's not showing us everything in his Hall of Fame arsenal, like can we all just hold on and just give this Hall the same grace we gave Justin Fields? Because I'm sure folks were bitching that entire ride over the 3 years until we were about to let him go to start making, all sorts of, last minute, last ditch efforts to keep him around. But like, just give Caleb that same grace, man, because like this is a lot to take on. And like he's just getting, his feet wet, but I think he'll have success.
yeah, I'd say yes. That's easier said than done though, especially because of the offseason the Bears have had, right? Adding in all these, like, Justin Fields has never had these amount of weapons before. Again, if Shane Waldron is the kind of the offensive coordinator that everybody kind of says he is, then compared to what we saw with Getsy and those awful play calls that he had, with not as much talent around. It's like, yeah, it's going to be hard, I think, for Bears fans. But yes, should we be patient? Yes. Will we be patient? We'll see. Hopefully, there's early success for Caleb Williams. I think that's what any Bears fan will want, because we want to see the Bears just win, and throw this whole like Justin Fields stuff, kind of just put it in the past there. And hopefully he does succeed over there with the Steelers, sitting behind Russell Wilson, and more of a revamped offensive line and talented playmakers that they got. So I don't know. I definitely will try to be patient, but man, they had a hell of an offseason here, and this is fun, I think, for Bears fans too.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I think this builds expectations in right away. I just always like to temper those expectations a bit. Like, same thing happened with other teams in our city. I mean, like, let's look at, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into the White Sox of the 2020s, but it was almost like folks were wanting them to be in the World Series in their first year. And it's like, guys, slow down. Like, this is a very young team. They're getting established. Like, it's a new identity, it's a new core. Like, year one, make the playoffs, like, or be 500. Year two, like, just have that same approach that we were trying to get to with Fields for this new Williams era. Like, I know we want Super Bowl or bust or something like that, but just all like, I think we gotta just let this thing play out, get behind him in tough times, and like, man, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, man. I already know it's gonna be good.
One more question. I mean, we could talk Bears all night if you want, but one more question though is, if the Bears don't make that 8.5, if they go under, if they don't make the playoffs and all that, is Eberflus on the chopping block? And maybe like Caleb Williams and all, like maybe it's the defense. Maybe like, yeah, we ought to have gotten more pass rushers or something, or injuries happen, right? Is Eberflus in the chopping block because we didn't we didn't deliver, right, at the end of the day?
Yeah, context will matter. It'll be nice to know, like, what was it that held us back this year. Is there infighting? Like, are there clubhouse issues? Are there guys that just don't get along, don't play well together? Was it an injury thing? Like, could I see Keenan Allen going down with an injury? Yeah, I could see that happening. Like, could DeAndre Swift go down, pretty soon? Like, it could. He's not really played like a lot of full seasons in the NFL. And like, I truly think Khalil Herbert is still our number one running back. And I think he's an awesome running back too. Like, I think people are talking a little bit too much about DeAndre Swift in that category, but like, it's going to matter a little bit about like what took us down and where was it. If it is defense related, for sure, and we fall short of a 500 record, like, there's nothing else that we really need to see from Eberflus. I think if anything, he's fighting for his standing in this league and as a NFL head coach. If the offense is the true problem, I don't know, man. If the defense kills it and the offense is the thing that's slowing us down, like we're just throwing too many picks, or protection's terrible, or whatever it could be. I mean, could Waldron become a guy who's under the spotlight? Like, yes, but I think we've invested too much there philosophy wise, and we've already changed over from Getsy. Like, we probably give Waldron a second year, like, guaranteed. So like, if the defense crushes it and the offense is stagnating, like, that's the thing I could see Flus getting an extra year for. But there's going to be a lot of media buzz. There's going to be a lot of fan backlash over the Bears not being a 500 plus team this year. So
Yeah,
Flus could lose his job one way or the other if that happens.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about that, because I know, to your point, I feel like out of all the cogs that are rolling right now, like, there's a lot of fanfare for Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren. I think people are just excited that it's we moved on from like Ted Phillips and all that. So and then but then the head coach now, it's like there definitely is mixed feelings that for sure for Eberflus. Yes, he can unite the locker room, which is great for the head coach. And I think that's like the number one thing you need. But then you got to deliver. You got to deliver some W's eventually. And if it is defense, it's hard to say that. If you're the head coach and this is like your thing, like, why don't you perform better? But hopefully everything works out. Hopefully it's all the over for the wins and such. And Bears fans, like, we're just all excited. We're just going to be getting shit faced and enjoying the Bears winning and Caleb Williams throwing touchdowns.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to the Bears. Great draft. Glad we got to talk about winners and losers. I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more football coming up here on the Ball and Breakfast podcast. If you're still with us, folks, like, subscribe, review, follow wherever you're at. Leave us a comment. We always like hearing what you guys have to say. And with Wayne, I'm Patrick signing off for the Ball and Breakfast podcast.